Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks for having me too. I honestly appreciate it. It means the most to me. My name is Sharon Tiger. I'm a graduate student at Liberty University, and I'm doing my master's in communication. I start my thesis in a week and a half, so this is my final class before the madness starts. My presentation tonight is on the origin of the Bible. Next. The objectives that I want to cover in this presentation are just to understand the basic structure of the Bible and understand where and when the Bible was actually written, to understand who wrote the Bible, and just to have a basic idea of the storyline, the big picture. My next slide is the Bible, just kind of like a brief introduction of the Bible. There is no other book has had so many books actually written about it. The Bible is simply one of a kind. There are so many books that help us understand the contents of the Bible, but few that help us understand its origin. And that was actually true when I was actually looking up things about the Bible. We always read the Bible to get the contents of it, but I've always had a question. Well, so who wrote it? Where did it come from? I need answers. So this was actually interesting doing this project. The word Bible is derived through the Latin from the Greek word biblia. Did I say that right? Okay. Specifically the books that are acknowledged as canonical, which I actually had to Google that because I did not know how to say that, by the Christian Church. A couple terms used to describe the Bible are the writings and the scriptures. And I actually had a friend at work who told me that the Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth, and I thought that was really neat. I never heard that before. So Mrs. Rideout told me that. The Bible is divided into two testaments, respectively named the Old Testament and the New Testament. The word testament is a synonym for the word covenant, kind of like a covenant between us and God and a covenant of marriage. The Old Testament has 39 books and the New Testament has 27 books. The order of the books is not in any kind of order. There is too much going on throughout the events to have a perfect arrangement of the material. Where and when the Bible was written, it's a common misconception that people think that the Bible is being Catholic from Rome or translated by Martin Luther in Germany or translated by commission of King James in the early 1600s. The Bible actually comes from the Middle East, which I thought was interesting. I would have never thought. It was written by Middle East authors who wrote mostly in Israel. Later, some of the New Testaments was written by Hebrew Christians as they traveled throughout the Mediterranean world. It was written over a span of 1,500 years. Thanks for bearing with me. So, who wrote the Bible? It is common to hear people say that the Bible was actually written by man, just like any other book. This is partly true. The authorship of the Bible is actually twofold. God worked with human authors so that they would convey in the original manuscripts precisely what he wanted them to say. The Bible is God's word to man. You can find that in 1 Thessalonians 2:13. The big picture. The Bible covers the beginning of time through eternal future. It gives God's perspectives on human history, where we come from, where we are going, how to know God, how to get to heaven, why death occurs, and many other things. It is important to point out that the Bible is a book of actual historical events and facts in addition to its teaching of spiritual matter. Next. The Bible is preeminent. The Bible is translated into more than 400 400 languages, which is astonishing. The United Bible Societies report that their network of organizations distributed 633 million portions of Scripture throughout the world in 2000. In 2001, the Gideon International placed and distributed more than 56 million copies of the Bible worldwide. That averages more than 1 million copies every week, 107 copies a minute. This is a little side piece that I put in, and I thought, we all know what the Bible is and what it does for us, but how we deal with it, for me, it's what to think of ourselves, how to deal with guilt or fear, how we are to treat others, how God reaches down to us, and how we can find God. One thing that I always think of in life, and I saw someone on Facebook actually put this another way, but never judge or look down on anyone. Only God stands that high.
All right.
And I had some side notes of my nerves, which I knew would let me forget them. If you want to go back to slide 4. The famous leader of Israel named Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible around 1400 BC as the nation of Israel moved back into Canaan from Egypt. The New Testament books were written after the life and death of Jesus Christ between 45 to about 95 AD. The Apostle John wrote the book called the Revelation sometime in the 90s AD. I remember going to Bible study when I was a child in Akron, Ohio is where I'm from. And I've been out of Akron for almost 8 years now, and I actually went to evangelic church there. And we learned a lot about Revelations and the New Testament, and I had those down packed. And I've slid a little since I hit undergrad school, and I started to learn a lot about evolution, and it really changed my perception of the Bible and what I define as truth. And I found myself really battling with the little me and the adult me. The little me who was, raised in church. That's where I learned to play the piano. I was the acolyte. I went to church every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday for choir practice, and it was just instilled in us. And as I got older, I found myself slipping away from that. So I stand here today as a person not confused, but still battling with the smaller me and the adult me on what is right or wrong. And I can honestly say going to Liberty University, a Christian university, has really enlightened me. And this project alone, learning about the Bible, really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I asked somebody one day, I said, I really believe in evolution. I believe there are molecules that made things, and they said, well, who do you think made the molecules? I said, good one. I might have to think about that. But it's definitely a mind changer. Do you want to go to slide 6? And these are just my side notes that I forgot to remember. So, the central theme of the Bible has to do with God's kingdom. Namely, God created a realm for His subjects to live in and enjoy perfect fellowship with Him. But they rebelled, and they received the consequences of rebellion. Subsequently, God began a restoration program in which His Son Jesus Christ would redeem fallen humanity and restore humanity to a perfect relationship with Him forever. Slide 7. Now, when I say that the Bible is preeminent, that is basically saying there is no book like it. There is no book that has been used more worldwide. Did you know that more books have been written about the Bible than any other subject, and more authors quote the Bible than any other source? The Bible is preeminent. There is no book on the face of the earth that comes anywhere close. And I say, saying that any book, anywhere, written by anyone, could on any level compare to the Bible would be a statement of ignorance. And that concludes my presentation on the origin of the Bible.